Today I want to talk to you about how to make a sublimation tumbler as well as how you can add Crystalac on top of it. So you can add something like glitter or a little bit of shimmer to your sublimation design. If you are new here, my name is Allison, and here on this channel I post a weekly tumbler tutorial as well as do a weekly live stream so you can be a more confident tumbler maker. If that sounds like something you're interested in, consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell so you don't miss any upcoming tutorials. The thing about sublimation tumblers is that it has been definitely a learning process. All of the other things that I've sublimated has gone pretty easily, but I have definitely messed up several tumblers in my learning process. And that's okay. I'm going to share with you everything that I have learned. What you need to know is that sublimation depends on pressure and heat. So when you do tumblers, you can either use a mug press or a convection oven. And right now I'm still using a convection oven, although I hope to upgrade someday soon to the mug press. But to do the sublimation in a convection oven, you need to bake it for a certain amount of time. I'm finding that about 360, 370 for 3 minutes is good for me. There are some people on the internet saying as much as 6 minutes, 400 degrees. Like mine were burning at that point. So about a 365, 370 degree oven for about 3 minutes, rotating once, seems to be the sweet spot for my tumblers. There are a lot of different factors that may go into this, so the timing may be different for you. So just know that if it's like burning and it's brown, it like smells like it's burning, you're baking it for too long. If your design is really faded, it's likely that you didn't bake it long enough, or maybe you didn't have enough pressure. So just know that you may have to test it out a little bit on your own. Let me show you the steps on how to do the sublimation part, and then we'll get into putting brite tone on top. Let's get started. The first step is to measure and print your wrap. They're pretty consistent, like a 20-ounce tumbler from different manufacturers is pretty consistent. I usually do about 9 and like 9.33 by about 8 1/4. So 9.33 by 8.25. And I use either Microsoft Word or Silhouette Studio, depending on if I'm using my own design or somewhere I bought. I just resize it in my program and then print it on my sublimation paper. Then you're going to trim the edges and wrap it tightly around your tumbler. Some people have them overlap and some people have the edges meet right together. It's kind of up to you, and you can kind of see what you like better, but you want to make sure that you're taping the edges super tight. So you want to do a few pieces of tape. This is heat tape, heat resistant tape, that I will put down underneath this video. And I do a few pieces along the seam because that's just an important part. And then I'm going to kind of fold over the paper if it is too long and take additional pieces and put it around the top and the bottom. So I am pulling the tape like really tight at this point, right at the bottom of the tumbler. And I'm going to do that again for a second piece. The edges are the most common place to have issues, the edges and the seam. So you just want to make sure that you're pulling your tape super tight. Again, I'm going right along the top. You can actually see like my tape over the top of the tumbler. I'm going to fold it in and do a second piece of tape. The more tape you have, the more secure your design is going to be. And then I'm going to take my fingernail and press down the paper right at that seam. I do have a little bit of an overlap here, and I'm just going to apply pressure with my nail, but you could use like an envelope, like a paper folder kind of thing. And then I'm going to put it in this shrink wrap. Again, all the supplies that I'm using for my sublimation tumblers are down below. I'm using my heat gun to lightly heat the shrink wrap so it applies pressure on my tumbler. Again, you want to keep it light and you don't want to have your heat in too much in one place, otherwise you can burn your shrink wrap. Once you get your shrink wrap on, it is time to bake your tumbler. I do it about 370, 365 for 3 minutes, rotating halfway through. Again, that timing may be a little bit different for your oven, for your tumbler brand, whatever paper you have, so just play around with it. And this is a different tumbler, obviously, that we're going to be using later, but I didn't have any footage, so you're just going to carefully pull away the tape and your sublimation paper. It's super hot, so you either need to wait for it to cool down a little bit or just be extra careful so you don't burn yourself. But you should see the design through your paper. It shouldn't look burned or charred or anything, but you should see your design. That's kind of one of the ways you know that it is done. So just remove everything, take your time, and be careful and get your tumbler all clean because you're almost done at this point. So once your cup is done, you are ready to add Crystalac. Remember, you don't have to add anything to the top of a sublimation tumbler, but if you have a design and you just want to add some shimmer like this one, you're going to need to use the clear shellac spray. You can get this locally at your hardware store, or you can get it from the Crystalac company website. I know at Lowe's by me, you have to get it like 6 or 12 or something. So if you want it individually, the Crystalac company might be your best option. So you're going to spray 3 light coats of this, about 30 minutes in between each coat. You want to make sure that you get the entire tumbler, not missing any of the edges or the bottom. So I do 3 coats, and then after the last coat, I wait about 3 or 4 hours, and I'm ready to add my bright tone. So I am using just a glitter additive called Marshmallow from the Glitter Heart Company, but any extra fine glitter additive will work for this purpose. I'm going to mix it in with my bright tone. You only need a little bit. So I put some bright tone in a little cup and add a little bit of that extra fine additive. And then I'm just going to stir it so it's completely combined, and then I'm going to put it on my tumbler. I use my finger just to get it completely covered. You do want to be careful because you don't want it to get any streaks, so just keep your pressure light and just quickly add it to your tumbler and then walk away. After this layer of glitter, you will need a few more coats of bright tone on top. In fact, I recommend that you do a minimum of 6 coats. So after about 3 coats, you can sand it, and then you can add 3 more coats for 6 total. I have been using my tumbler for 3 months now, and I've dropped it. I've done all sorts of testing, and it is holding up super well. If you want some more information on how to convert your Epson printer into a sublimation printer, click on the video on your screen.